to go ahead and get started. We are good to go.
Okay, welcome everyone. I hope your day is going well. John and I are, John is at the University of Mississippi, John Green with the Center for Population Studies. My name is Steve Turner. I'm the director of the Southern Rural Development Center here at Mississippi State. What we'd like to do is update you on this 2020 census. The title of our webinar is The 2020 Census is Upon Us. We're less than about 100 days out now. And what can you do, or what can we do to motivate and increase participation in the census? So we're going to go over kind of some general information at the beginning, and then we'll go into more specific information about what you can actually do and the relationship between the census and the extension service. I know quite a few of our participants are in the cooperative extension service community, so we'll talk about that also. So hopefully we'll be communicating. You can communicate with us with questions through the chat box, and we will be looking at those as we move through the presentation. So Catherine, if you'd go ahead and go to the next slide. Just a basic overview. I'm going to let John do this, and so John, go ahead and step in here.
All right, thank you, Steve, and thanks to everyone for joining us for this webinar. So I'm going to start by just providing a little bit of basic information related to the census and the 2020 census and some of the areas of concern that we want to give attention to have as accurate of a count as possible, and why this is so important. As Steve mentioned, I'm from the Center for Population Studies at the University of Mississippi, and we house the State Data Center of Mississippi, which is part of the national network of state data centers. So to start us off, just to emphasize that the census is required as a part of the Constitution. We've been conducting a census every decade since 1790. And of course, as we've already said, the 2020 census is upon us. We think of April 1st as the official census day. The idea is that census data should capture where people were living on April 1st of 2020. But if you're paying attention to the media, you know that the census has already started in Alaska. So we are rolling now as a nation. In terms of what's going to be included in the 2020 census, this will be the what we think of as the short form questionnaire, asking pretty basic focused questions covering issues of age, sex, race, ethnicity, specifically Hispanic status, housing tenure, and the relationship to the householder. As some of you may be familiar with previous censuses going back, we used to have a long form that went to a sample of households, but now that's been replaced by the American Community Survey. And so everyone will, in the States at least, will receive the short form version. There'll be an online option for a majority of people for the first time. I believe the estimate is about 95% of households would get the cards to participate online as the goal. But people will still have the option to participate through other methods, including mail and in person. And it's important to realize that for the online option that people can use smartphones as a way to participate. The data from the decennial census have really long-lasting impacts on a lot of the issues we'll discuss today. And so we think that's really critical to keep in mind. Next slide, please. So census data are used for a lot of different purposes. In terms of the requirement as a part of the Constitution, of course, it's for political apportionment in terms of the number of seats that states have in the House of Representatives. And the data are also used for setting district boundaries for federal, state, and local governments. Additionally, census data are used for determining program eligibility for a large list of different federal programs, as well as states use census data for this as well. And so the allocation of funding is largely driven, and in most policies driven by law, to require the use of census data and other census data, census-related products, such as the American Community Survey that I mentioned earlier. For those of us who are concerned with rural development, it's particularly important to understand that the decennial census is used to define rural-urban status, and then that definition is with us as well for the following decade. The census data are also used as the basis for a wide range of other statistics. We can think about economic statistics, health statistics, all of those that need to include demographic data, either for adjustments for age or calculating rates and so forth, that the decennial census is the basis for them. And so the whole idea is to be able to use the decennial census to inform decision making. Next slide. So one of the reasons why we're doing this webinar and have developed this partnership between the State Data Center and the Southern Rural Development Center is really focused on how do we address concerns over low participation rates. How do we increase participation for the 2020 census? And what we're showing to you here is the mail response rates, what we call self-response rates. This is used as an indicator for kind of the most active way in which people can engage in the census, or that they could in 2010. Now, of course, rates would be higher when we account for all the other ways that people can participate, with the enumerators going door to door and so forth. But the self-response rate via mail is particularly critical and good indicator. And what we see here is that the average across the states was about 73% for the 2010 census, but that we did have differences between metro and non-metro counties. And so the impact of a potential undercount in rural communities is something that we should be particularly concerned with. Next slide. So there are some tools that have been created by the Census Bureau that are particularly useful. We have links that you'll have access to. And the first is the census participation rates that I just reported. You can get those for your state as well as for the counties in your state. And so it allows you to look at different levels and see what was going on in 2010. And then secondly, the Bureau has created the Response Outreach Area Mapper, what they call ROAM, which allows you to look at census tract level data from 2010, as well as the low response score that they've calculated using data from the American Community Survey. Next slide. So it allows, this is just a screenshot of the map, but where you can see that, that there's a combination of data used to calculate where the Census Bureau thinks that people might be hardest to count based on a wide range of different indicators. When we couple that with data from other researchers, other scholars, and then a survey that was done this past year, looking at barriers and people's attitudes and what motivates them to participate in the census, we have a pretty good knowledge base of what might be influencing people for 2020. So we've listed here a few of the ones that we think are important. As we've already discussed, whether or not people live in a rural or urban area. Families that have complex living arrangements in terms of, say, families that have divorced parents, children that go between households, households where maybe grandparents are raising grandchildren, all those types of situations that are particularly complex. People aren't sure sometimes who should be counting children, as an example. We know that there are differences between racial and ethnic groups in terms of participation in past censuses and other surveys. There's always a concern over language barriers and literacy barriers. And because the 2020 census is going to be focusing a good bit of attention on participation online, obviously we want to give attention to issues of whether or not people have computer and broadband internet access, and then also the literacy for participating online. And then the final point we have listed is distrust that people might have in the census or the census process, as well as concerns over confidentiality. And this is one of the big issues that we hear through our work in communities, and that's also well documented in the research. Next slide. So, given that we have previous research about hard to count areas, we have data that helps us to understand where we might want to pinpoint more outreach, education, and promotion for the census. The question is then, what can we do with that knowledge? So one of the things that has come out of our work together through these collaborations is the need for more community level action to work with local organizations and to work within our states to really emphasize what can be done to really take ownership for the census. Of course, the Census Bureau is gearing up and will have a large staff working across the country. But what we're trying to emphasize is that there's a lot more that can be done within our communities and with our states to help the Census Bureau in this endeavor. These are our data for the nation. And so this can include complete count committees, engaging with the Extension Service, and working with other community organizations. We'll touch on those more. We have to help people to address some of these concerns over privacy and how data are used and the importance of data, and the messaging that it's important to address literacy levels. An example being we've done community meetings with teachers and early childhood education providers, local elected officials, and so forth. And we realized that we hadn't accounted for some of the literacy concerns at those levels. And so it just really drives home the point that we need to be attending to those concerns. Also, that it's really valuable to focus messages to key stakeholder groups. And that might be based on different sectors in the economy. It might be different sectors of our community. Like, for example, working with faith-based groups, working with business organizations, and so forth. And then also to realize that it's very clear that children under the age of 5 are the most likely to be undercounted in the past, and all the research points to this challenge continuing. And so if we really want to impact the counts, to help people to understand how children should be counted. Next slide. So a few of the things that we're emphasizing of how people can engage that are largely already in existence, and that you can connect with, and that we can help people and the communities connect with, is resources such as the complete count committees. So communities and other organizations can form complete count committees basically to help do the outreach, education, and promotion for the 2020 census. And these they can register their complete count committees with the Census Bureau. There's actually a website, and we provide the link where people can search if there's a complete count committee in their local area, how to connect with it. And then if there's not, how they can, there are materials on how they can start their own complete count committee. There are now thousands and thousands across the nation. Additionally, most states have formed statewide complete count committees, and these are typically appointed or started by the governor of a state. And the idea is to do the work at a state level, connect with the local complete count committees, but also engage, your various statewide organizations and policymakers and agency leaders and so forth. And also to help with some state-specific messaging. For example, I serve as the vice chair for our complete count committee here in Mississippi, and we're working to focus on particular sectors. We're trying to raise funds to do Mississippi-specific messaging and media campaigns, and so this allows us to have a mechanism to do those sorts of things. Organizations can also partner with the Census Bureau officially, and even do kind of co-marketing of our census efforts. There's a wide range of promotional materials that people can use, and the Census Bureau has even set up a way where there are some vendors that have been pre-approved, so different things that organizations might want to order to do some of their own promotional materials that would include the census logos, that there are some ways that the Bureau has streamlined that process to try to make it easier. And then the final point that I want to make before turning it back over to Steve is in relationship to our state data center. So as I mentioned, I serve as the director of the State Data Center of Mississippi. Every state has a data center, and our data centers kind of serve as liaisons between the Census Bureau and data users in our respective states. And we do a lot of work around educating people, providing technical assistance with accessing and utilizing census data, but we also are very involved with helping people to understand the importance and how to participate in these different data collection efforts. And so all of your state data centers around the country in some way are involved with the 2020 census. And so that's a great network that you can connect with. Next slide. So with that, I'm gonna pass it back over to Steve, because we really want to emphasize for the rest of this talk the real value of how we can engage through extension and through our university systems, and specifically as it relates to trust and the development of trusted voices. So thank you.
So thanks, John. So this slide you're looking at has partnerships, and I was meeting last week or this week with some census administrators in Washington, D.C. And the emphasis there is the importance of partnerships at a state and local level is because in general, people are more trusting of their local officials, their local people, their church members, people that they know, than they are from a federal person or even a state person. So what we're trying to do is to develop partnerships, and we're focusing on the Extension Service because that's who we mostly work with, but there are others too. I noticed some of our participants are with other nonprofits and other community organizations. Some of you are already working with the census in your communities. There are an abundance of outreach materials, and those are available through the Census Bureau that you can adapt to your particular area and your particular state. Next slide, please. So there are lots of promotional materials. And on the slide that you're looking at, the key messaging that the census is trying to get through is shaping your future starts here. Census matters, it's safe, it's easy and confidential. And then the other question is where to go if you have questions about misinformation and fraud. Now, as with most other events and other activities, there will be people trying to take advantage of people in your communities. Remember, in the census, there is no question about your Social Security number. There's no question about your bank statements or numbers or anything like that. The short form is very simple. It basically is trying to determine who lives at that particular location at a particular point in time. The other thing to remember is on one of the previous slides, we mentioned that a young person in the first grade, let's say you're 6 years old in 2020, you will be 16 in 2030 when the next census comes back around. And we're going to show you how if that person is not counted in the 2020 census, that the community they live in will lose substantial dollars from the federal government to support their population. Next slide. The other thing that we want to make you aware of is, I don't know if we have any state and local officials on the call, but many of you interact with a lot of state and local officials, and there is a specific toolkit for state and local officials, and we wanted to make you aware of that and put that information on this presentation also. Next slide. Now, using the census logo is a very easy thing, and some states and some extension service and some community organizations are developing their own promotional material. Many of us are using the census promotional material. So there is census logos guidelines. I've put up on the slide 2 individuals you could contact about having an agreement to use the logos. We did this here in Mississippi at Mississippi State. It was very simple. There's a 1-page, basically, agreement that you sign, they sign. It can be done very quickly. The counterpart to this is you can also put your logos on census materials. That's the good thing. So the materials that they've already developed, you can put your particular logo on those materials also. So I would encourage those of you, especially those of you maybe at land-grant universities who are interested in co-branding, this is very useful to have the census logo on your branded materials, and likewise to use your brand on census materials. Next slide. Now we're going to turn our attention a little bit to the Extension Service. I know many of you are working in the Extension Service around the South and around the nation. Some of you don't, but you work with Extension people in your communities. So the question now is the 2020 Census and the Extension Service, why, what, and how. Next slide, please. So why should Extension partner with the census and the 2020 census? Well, there's a lot of federal dollars that flow to the Cooperative Extension Service around the nation. In FY 2016, there was $458 million federal dollars that flowed to the states, the Extension Service. That ranged from Texas, who received $26 million, to Rhode Island, who received $1.7 million. The key point here is 2/3 of federal funding is formula-based. And so in this slide, you can see 20% is equally divided between the states, 40% is based on the rural population, and 40% is based on the farm population. So as you can see, 80% of the formula of federal funding for the Extension Service is based on rural population and farm population. And so that 40% based on rural population is based on census data. So that's a fairly large chunk of the allocation. Next slide, please. And these allocations, that's just for the Cooperative Extension Service. Most of the federal allocations in your community will be for Medicare, Medicaid, and a lot of the USDA allocation is for the SNAP program, the Women, Infant, Children program, school lunch programs, breakfast programs, etc. This also includes 1890 payments to the 1890 land-grant institutions. So as you can see, as far as federal dollars, the primary dollars are Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, things like that. Now, Social Security is not based on census data, but Medicare and Medicaid are. So that's very important for you to realize. In many rural communities, those federal dollars are crucial to the community's health. Next slide, please. So what can Extension do? Well, again, our main role in Extension is to educate based on reliable research-based information, and we inform, educate, and the last point there is develop a communication plan. So many of us, communication is not our specialty. We do have people who help us with that. I would encourage those of you who are on this webinar who are in Extension to contact your communications people. If you do have ag communications people, get together with them and encourage them to develop materials unique to your state and your location. But again, Extension, we reach both adults and youth. We're also in these hard to count places. John mentioned the Roam tool, and he mentioned some other tools that the Census Bureau has to locate hard to count populations. If you look in the South, we have lots of counties that are included in these hard to count areas. So I would encourage you to use some of these tools to find out your particular location and where there might be hard to count areas, and that would be a target market that you could talk to churches and other organizations in those particular places, child care centers, places like that, and see if they would be receptive to having materials there at their locations that would help explain the census to their clientele. Next slide, please. So when we look at promotional materials, we found that one-page infographics are very powerful tools. Those have been developed and used quite a bit. The census has quite a few of that type of material. And then, as I mentioned, some of us have communication personnel that help us with developing state-tailored materials for our particular states. Your Extension service has multiple outlets. It has the actual physical offices in many of the counties in your state. So there can be materials there. Social media, TV and radio, newsletters, your director's monthly electronic communications, and then there are presentations that can be made by particular Extension personnel. So again, that would be involved with a communication plan. And so here in Mississippi, we're doing some of that with our ag communications people, and they are helping out. I might mention that there are other kinds of organizations that are interested in this also. John and I wrote a piece for Mississippi Farm Bureau to put in their monthly magazine that will be coming out, I believe, in February. So again, just as much as possible, informing and educating, educating the public about the value and the importance of the census. Next slide, please. So some examples of census infographics. We're going to look at some of the things that have been done. And John and his shop at the Center for Population Studies and the State Data Center have developed some real good examples of infographics. So next slide. So state-specific promotion tools, a lot of times that'll come out of your state what is it, counts? What's it, John? Community counts. Excuse me for just a minute.
Sorry, I was on mute. The complete counts.
Complete count committee. So your state has a complete count committee. I would encourage those of you to interact with those people. Some of you are probably on that committee, and see if they have specific logos. Here's the Mississippi Count, We Count logo, and put those on your materials. Anything you can do to put brands on your materials that are trusted brands that helps when we go out into different communities. The Census Bureau is very cognizant of different locales and who's trusted in those locales. So when they're hiring people to go out house to house, they're hiring people that live in those communities and that are trusted in those communities. So for Mississippi, we have some specific state-specific logos, and you can see this Mississippi We Count logo. There's some other logos that we're planning on using in the near future too. Next slide, please. So this is an infographic that John and the State Data Center developed, and it's the fast facts. So it's basically a one-sheet page that shows a citizen in Mississippi some of the things that are supported by federal dollars that are dependent on the census count. And as you can see, there's a map of Mississippi here, and those are hard to count regions. So the darker the region, and you can see many of our dark regions are in the Delta along the Mississippi River, those are hard to count counties. And so with that knowledge, we can go into those counties, and especially people in those counties, like the county extension agents and personnel in those counties, and knowing that they are hard to count, they can reach out to different community leaders and community organizations to promote participation in the census. Next slide, please. This is another infographic relating somewhat to children, but as John mentioned, the hardest population to count is under 5 years old. And part of that is because of demographics. Part of it is because of they're moving from house to house at time. But basically, for every child not counted in a particular location, there are thousands of dollars that community is going to lose in federal funding per year. So let's say that you have 15 children that are not counted, and it's not going to be 15, it's going to be in the hundreds probably, hopefully not the thousands. But you're potentially losing hundreds of thousands of dollars over a decade, and it could be even millions of dollars over a decade for those individuals not being counted. So as we mentioned, that 1-year-old that's not counted will be 10 years old in 2030. And so all of those federal dollars that would flow in as far as nutrition dollars, education dollars, so on and so on, those will not flow to your particular location if those children are not counted. So this particular infographic stresses that kind of information. Next slide, please. And this is a slide I wanted to put up because John and the University of Mississippi have developed this slide specific to college students. And I know that we have quite a few people from universities on this phone call. And so I wanted to encourage those of you who are at universities to look at this slide and see if you might be interested, or your university might be interested in developing a slide similar to this. I think you don't realize that the universities have lots of out-of-state students that on April the 1st, if their majority of their time is spent at that university and in that locale, in that census tract, they are supposed to be counted in that census tract. And so I wanted to put up this slide because there are many universities in your state, and they have quite a few out-of-state students. My son goes to the University of Alabama, so he will be counted as an Alabama citizen in 2020, although he probably won't live there. Well, he might in 2030, but you know, that's the way the census works. So that's kind of where, you know, there are many other infographics, and there are infographics on the census site, Census Bureau site also. So I would encourage you to visit some of the links that we have in this particular presentation.
Steve, can I add to that?
Sure.
With many of these infographics that we've been sharing today, you'll notice that the Kids Count program was involved. And I want to mention that because if you're looking for more materials specific to concerns about the count for children, the Annie Casey Foundation, which funds the Kids Count program that is national, that they've devoted a lot of resources to additional materials that people can access as well. And so that can be a good resource. In Mississippi, the Kids Count program, which is based at Mississippi State, devoted their fact book this year to the 2020 census. And so that can be a good resource for folks who are specifically looking at the undercount of children concern.
John, we have a question about the data center calculating the projected losses, or is that information available on the census website?
So this is actually a great question that a lot of the state data centers and the Census Bureau and others are trying to come up with the calculations. The $2,700 loss was a calculation that was done through the Kids Count program at state, using a combination of data related to the funding reports through George Washington University, then combined with demographic data, and then looking at different states, what they are projecting.
So are there any questions or discussion pieces you would like to contribute? This is a time that we're listeners and we want to answer questions if we can. The PowerPoints will be available on the Southern Rural Development Website Center. Please feel free to use any of the materials here on these presentations. If you do have further questions about materials, please feel free to contact either me or John or Catherine Spearing, who's one of our web persons here at the SRDC. When should we stop promoting the census? In other words, when is it too late to respond to the census? The Census Bureau will be collecting data throughout the spring. I think the last, I think they have to have a report sometime in August. So I think they're going to stop collecting data around June or July. But again, I would keep encouraging, especially the real hot months, so to speak, are going to be March and April. So that's really, March and April are the months, and April especially. April is the census month. So basically, we're a little bit in front of it here. Develop materials in February, push hard in March, keep pushing pushing in April. And then after that, you'll have people going out in the field to particular locations and houses trying to collect data.
Yeah, if I can add to that, Steve, as you mentioned, things are really going to be gearing up for February and March. And in basically early to mid-March is when the Census Bureau will start sending out the postcards to households, telling them how they can participate online, as well as the other methods that we mentioned. And so those will be mailed out. Also, in some places, they'll be hand delivered if necessary. And then they'll start the follow-up process. And then eventually for those non-respondents, really focus on the enumerators. My understanding from the timeline is basically the big push for March and April, and but then the Census Bureau will still be doing non-response follow-up into July. Is the idea. So the big push so that they can focus on the non-response follow-up in the summer.
That's my understanding also. There is a deadline, I think, at the end of July, maybe, or something like that, because there are reports they have to compile.
Yeah, that's right. The timeline is so important. By law, the report that has to the counts that will go into apportionment. There's a count that has to be delivered to the president by December 31st. And so all of the other work has to have been done before then.
Other questions? Any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and close up this webinar. We appreciate all of your participation, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, please let us know. We hope that you will be completely counted in your states, and good luck out there. Go get them.
That's right. Thank you.